Okay, look, so I don't know how many times I must have said this over the last year and a half or so, but the Miyoo Mini Plus is still the handheld to beat as a starter handheld to me. I love it. Onion OS is super easy to use. There's a lot of community support for this thing. It is super comfortable with the device as well as the buttons, and D-pad is great. There's a lot of good things about this, and it is only like $30 US. So it is a really good starter device, and I've gushed over it for 2 years now. But then TrimUI released the TrimUI Brick, and that's going to be the topic of today's video, is how does it compare the 2025 TrimUI Brick to the 2023 Miyoo Mini Plus? I don't remember, but how do these two devices compare? Which one is better? Which one should you purchase in 2025? The answer might be surprising to you. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Joey's Retro Handhelds. I'm Joey, and today we're going to be reviewing the TrimUI Brick, which in my mind is supposed to be a 2025 replacement for the Miyoo Mini Plus. That's how I am looking at it, because that's what I want it to be. I want a small little vertical handheld that I could just bring with me anywhere I go. And so how does it compare when it's against the Miyoo Mini Plus, which is the king of that type of device? And we'll talk about it. So I love the TrimUI Smart Pro. I've been shilling that since day one, all day, every day. And it finally caught on with the community a few months after it released, when they dropped the price quite a bit, and everybody saw how awesome it was. TrimUI also had a hit with the TrimUI Smart, a nice little mini handheld that is also awesome and unique. But it's slightly outdated at this point. I have to wonder if they're going to make another one with a better chip and all that sort of thing, because I would be super interested in that, but we'll see. Either way, the point is TrimUI has had a lot of hits, and when I say a lot of, I mean 2, and so we'll see if they can make it 3 for 3. So that leads me to the specs of this little handheld. The Brick has an awesome 3.2-inch IPS 1024 by 768 4:3 display. Yeah, this is an HD screen, and it is pretty awesome. There is a 3000 milliamp hour battery inside, which in my testing of a normal use case SNES game, I was able to clock battery life at about 200 minutes, or just at 3.5 hours-ish, with 100% brightness, with Wi-Fi on, and sound at about 10%. For a device like this, that is actually pretty decent for just quick pick up and play, and it'll be a lot better if you don't do brightness at 100%. Pricing wise, this is $68 US shipped worldwide with my code Joey at checkout from GoGameGeek. That's about twice the price of what a Miyoo Mini Plus currently goes for regularly on AliExpress for comparison. It's a little bit less if you check out other places, but general idea is it's more expensive than the Miyoo Mini Plus. Now on the power front, it is very similar to the H700 processor from Anbernic. You can play some Nintendo 64, some Dreamcast, and some PlayStation Portable, but let's be real here. There is no analog stick, and it is a 3.2-inch screen, and it is 4:3. That doesn't translate well for PSP games. Your real use case for this device is going to be PlayStation 1 and under, and mostly 4:3 systems like the Super Nintendo, Genesis, Game Boy Color, all of those sorts of systems. That's what you're going to be playing on this. That is exactly where this excels and what looks great. If your plan is to purchase this for Nintendo 64 or Dreamcast or PSP, you are going to have a bad time, and I would definitely not suggest it. Now the topic of the day is of course the Miyoo Mini Plus comparison, and on the screen and power front, there is absolutely zero comparison between both devices. The TrimUI Brick is the winner, and by a large margin. Screen-wise, the Plus has a 3.5-inch 640 by 480 screen, and the Brick is running that beautiful 3.2-inch 1024 by 768 screen. It is a lot more crisp in every single way, and it is just a gorgeous screen at this price. We've seen this before in that other Powkitty that I'm blanking on the name of because it was that unimportant, but they had the same screen and it looked great, and we see it here now too, so I'm guessing a lot of more companies are going to start using the screen. Now it's a similar story for the power. The Miyoo Mini Plus really does top out at PlayStation 1, although it utilizes hacks to do most of it, whereas the Brick easily surpasses that without hacks, and use cases without utilizing frame skip. I will say that personally, for my uses over the last 2 years or so of a device like this, The Miyoo Mini Plus has been more than fine for playing any of these types of games, but the TrimUI Brick goes further, and so that is a good thing. So yeah, in the TrimUI Brick's favor, it wins out here. However, there is a bit of a trade-off when it comes to more power. With more power comes more heat responsibility, and the Brick absolutely fails at that aspect. I stuck to just playing PlayStation 1 and under on the Brick for this review, given the use case, and I still found it to get warm to hot on a lot of occasions, enough to make it uncomfortable in my hands. Now, I've been filming for 10 or so minutes at this point, I don't know how long it's been, and even now it is still warm to hot, and it's just on the screen, the main home screen, and it's just been sitting here. So it's that type of scenario with the TrimUI Brick. You're gonna feel that warmth even just on the home screen without playing anything. So I'm obviously not a big fan of that overall, and outside of finding a way to downclock the device to lower the heat, which also doesn't really make a lot of sense because you can just get another device, I couldn't find a way around it. On the controls front, the Miyoo is a clear winner here and by a large margin. So I'm one of the few people I think that actually really like the controls on the TrimUI Smart Pro, minus the sticks, those are awful. But they're the same here again. So that means the same D-pad style and same type of buttons and feel and all of that. They're clicky style, no real travel, and while they're fine, they're just not as good as the Miyoo's. The Miyoo's D-pad to me is still one of the best in the hobby, and the face buttons are so comfy to use as well. This is like the perfect cozy gamer type device, if that's the type of channel you want to watch. But either way, it is that type of device. You just feel cozy playing with the Miyoo Mini Plus, and it's different on the TrimUI Brick. But the part where the TrimUI Brick screwed up, because I could get used to the controls on the TrimUI Brick. They are just fine. Nothing wrong with them. They're just not as good as the Miyoo's. But the part where they screwed up in comparison to the Miyoo, which also wasn't great at this point, is the back buttons. The shoulder buttons, L1 and R1, are fine. And I'm saying fine through gritted teeth, because I want to say it's a lot worse than fine. But they're serviceable. You could make do with them. The problem is the triggers, and they are absolutely not fine. They are in a hard to reach spot, hard to push down, and they just feel absolutely awful. The entire back feels awful to me, but I risk angering a lot of people by saying that. But yeah, they do. Now, TrimUI must have known this because they include options in the box for other shoulders and triggers. Except, none of them solved the problem, and in fact, the default option was the best feeling for me. Triggers are super important for utilizing fast forward in games, as that's how I have them mapped, and they are a complete miss here. Now that all ties into overall comfort because where the triggers are positioned and how often I personally use them in games like Pokemon, it is a complete disaster for holding, and it just doesn't feel great. Anytime I have to do a fast forward or a load state, a save state, all of that sort of thing, I just want to stop using the device. Now, it's funny to talk about ergonomics and comfort for a device this small because you'd assume that these devices just don't have any at this size. But I find the Miyoo to be just fine for fast forwarding and for these use cases. The Brick, unfortunately, is not. Speaker-wise, the sound can get distorted at loud volumes, which is normal for these types of devices at this price range, but otherwise the sound itself is just fine. It's actually pretty good for the price if you're not putting it at max volume. And they have nice levels of volume for both low and high and everything in between. So let's have a quick listen. On the software front, I am currently waiting on the cross-mix release with SyncThing integration and all of that. It's my option of choice for this device, and it was my option of choice for the TrimUI Smart Pro. Cross-mix OS is just awesome. But the stock operating system is actually quite decent, and it was on the TrimUI Smart Pro too. Now, if we were to compare stock to stock on Miyoo and TrimUI Brick, the Miyoo has a worse stock operating system. Miyoo only survived because of Onion OS. And so it's easy to just look at the TrimUI Brick and say, yeah, it's got a lot better than the Miyoo Mini Plus does. However, nobody buys a Miyoo Mini Plus without installing Onion OS. And of course, Onion OS is better than the TrimUI Brick stock operating system, as well as CrossMix OS, in my opinion. Onion OS is just a super easy to use operating system, and it's much more mature at this point. It has a lot more time to breathe than CrossMix OS has. But in all honesty, both operating systems are more than enough for any use case that you need it to be. So TrimUI Brick with CrossMix is going to be great. Onion OS on Miyoo Mini Plus is going to be great. This is kind of a wash, in my opinion. They are both great. I will say the Miyoo is a little bit easier to use, but honestly, it's a wash. We'll give it to both. Now, while we're on the topic of software, one thing I really don't like is there's ports included with the ROM SD card that comes with this device. Now, I didn't have a choice with this. It was the standard SD card that came with the device. And so you see Balatro, you see Stardew Valley, you see Celeste. None of these should be free at all. These are paid games that you should not have access to. Really, really do not like this, and I hope we don't continue to see this. Anbernic got in a lot of trouble for this one, and they ended up reverting on it. So yeah, no, TrimUI, stop doing this. Now, charging-wise, unlike Anbernic devices and even my Miyoo Mini Plus, TrimUI has figured out USB-C to C charging, and I found that to work pretty reliably across different chargers and things like that I have, which was good. I still will never charge USB-C to C on these types of devices. I still suggest USB-A to C, but it seems like it should be fine for USB-C to C. Now, one awesome feature of the Brick over the Miyoo Mini Plus is sleep mode. TrimUI Brick has an actual working sleep mode. That means when you push the power button to put it in sleep, it doesn't drain 30% in an hour or a few hours. It does about 3 to 5% per day is what I was able to count, which is on par with an Android device in sleep mode. That is absolutely awesome. More Linux devices need to have this, and it is awesome to have it working and here on the Brick. Otherwise, overall, the Brick is premium feeling. It has a nice screen, it's decent controls, it's got the power that you want and definitely want at this size, but it is held back by the heat issues and these back buttons for sure. So if we go back to my question of the day, does the TrimUI Brick beat out or replace the Miyoo Mini Plus? If you're asking me, the answer is surprisingly no. I would still use the Miyoo Mini Plus over the TrimUI Brick. And for a lot of different reasons that we already talked about, the main ones being the comfort, the ergonomics, the back buttons actually being usable, the D-pad and buttons feel a lot better to me. That's really kind of it. In all honesty, the TrimUI Brick has a lot going for it. The screen, the power, Wi-Fi range, which we didn't talk about, is a lot better on the TrimUI Brick. And there's a lot better options here. It's just, man, I don't get how you could screw it up. The Miyoo Mini Plus has been out for 2 years and we still have not seen a successor to it in any way, shape, or form that is better than it. And it is surprising because, again, even as I'm holding this, it is still warm in my hands and we are still just on the home screen. That bothers me, and that's not even getting into the whole back button situation and all of that. So yeah, the Miyoo Mini Plus is still going to be my go-to small little vertical. But this bumps me out because I think a lot of you know, if you've been following me, I've been very excited for the TrimUI Brick for a long while now. I thought I would see this as my third pillar device between Ally X, Retroid Pocket 5, and TrimUI Brick. It would be a perfect triple threat combination, but it doesn't do it for me. The colors are absolutely beautiful. Like the red that I have here is absolutely gorgeous. And I always look at this device throughout my entire review as I was playing with it. I kept looking at it. I'm like, why can't I like you? Why can't I love you? You should, on paper, be everything that I'm looking for, but you just are not. It just doesn't hit for me personally. Do I think it's a bad device? No, not at all. I think a lot of people are going to be very happy with it, just not me. Now, it seems like it's very difficult to get a small vertical correct, and Miyoo just kind of lucked into it with the Miyoo Mini and Miyoo Mini Plus. Let's be honest here. They had lightning in a bottle for 2 devices by accident because their recent track record isn't very good. And even I wouldn't put hope on Miyoo making a new Miyoo Mini Plus that is better than this at this point. Whatever Miyoo did to make this, I don't know if the guy left or whoever did it, or they just completely lucked into it completely, but they will never make another one like this, I don't think. We'll have to wait for somebody else to do something similar. And that's kind of where I'm at. I am waiting for somebody to make a Miyoo Mini Plus successor that is as good as the Miyoo Mini Plus is, or better, because it's been 2 years. You should be able to do it at this point. That's going to be it for this one. Outside of YouTube, you can find me on Blue Sky, which is where I post normal day-to-day stuff. You can also come join me on the Discord, where we talk all about retro handhelds like this, and I can help you if you need some help with setup. You can support me on Patreon if you like my stuff, my reviews, my guides, and they're helping you. Otherwise, thank you all for watching, and hope you all have a good one.